Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever wondered how much would it take for you to retire early and not wait till 70 years old to finally enjoy your life? Well, today we're going to do something really interesting because we're going to simulate how much money would you need to retire early in life. Okay, so there is actually a movement out there called FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence to Retire Early, of people who just wants to retire as early as possible, okay? So today we're going to talk about that and calculate approximately the amount that you would need to retire early in life. Okay, so I took this file from an Italian professor I love and I follow on YouTube, so I'm gonna leave all the links down below. Check out his channel. Okay, so I don't think that is useful to simulate anything before the age 50 because people who retire at 35 years old either have a very high income or they're rich from their background. So I don't want to do extremism here. I think that 50 years old is the right age in which you can accumulate a right amount of capital for you to enjoy the rest of your life without having to worry about money. So let's start from age 50 and to age 100, okay? So let's start with our simple analysis. So I'm going to say that the cash out per year is approximately 2,000 euros or $2,000 each month. Of course, you can adjust that for your personal needs, but we don't have to worry about that. But because usually if the cost of living in your area is higher, then you probably have another type of income. So I am basing this to Europe, and 2,000 euros or dollars each month is a good average between the cities and the other areas. So because if I don't live in a city, I will probably be okay by myself with 1,500 euros each month. While if I live in Milan, I will probably need more than that. So this is a good average. Let's see what happens if my starting point is half a million. Okay, I forgot to tell you that we use as inflation rate 3% and we use as net return 6%. This is the net return of the S&P 500 for the last 50 years. So I used it. And so this is the first simulation. As you can see here, half a million is not good enough because from age 59, our capital starts to decrease more than proportionally. So it becomes very steep at a certain point. So it will last us till 80 years old. So this simple simulation is not good enough. So we'll have to try to increase that. Yes, as you can see here, well, it didn't change much, so we need to start thinking about something like this. Yes, as you can see here, this is too much, so maybe it's like this. Yes, approximately, we would need around 600,000-700,000 euros to retire at 50 years old with a cash out per year of 25,000 euros. So a little bit more than that. I think this is the right amount. Yes, approximately. Yes, okay, so the right amount would be this, 670,000 euros if we want a cash out of 2,000 euros per month. So people who follow the FIRE movements usually live their life really frugally. So if we diminish this, like for example at 20,000 euros each year, which is a little bit more than 1,500 euros per month. As you can see here, this is really sensitive. I mean, so you would need like 500,000, a little bit more than 500,000. So there are a lot of game changer here. First of all, if you have a house to your name and you don't pay rent, as you can see, you would need a lot more less than what you would need if you're paying rent, of course. The game changer, in my point of view, is that if you are wealthy and your parents help you buy a house in your 20s or 30s, well, that is going to be a game changer for the rest of your life, because you don't need to pay rent, but also because the value of your house probably will increase and you will have something to leave your children. If you can put aside money to buy a house before you're 50, you would probably need way less than this amount. So let's do a simulation in my case. First of all, I'm going to tell you how much do I spend in my life right now. So right now, at 22 years old, living alone and not having children to feed, last year I spent 11,000 euros, okay, in a year. Now this year I'm going a little bit higher because I live in another city. So in 4 months I spent 4,000 euros. Considering my uni fees that are the most expensive things that I pay. As you can see here, education is the most expensive thing that I have to pay. But I plan for the next 5 to 10 years to have approximately the same expenses, because I mean, I like to travel and these uni fees will probably be a trip. So yeah, so I spent a lot less than what I planned in my simulation. But we have to keep in mind that I live a very odd situation because I do not pay rent. So the thing that I want to stress out is that wealth generates other wealth. And this is one of the first rule in finance. So it is more likely to be passed down. The worst thing is that this works even in the other direction. So if you are born in a poor family, you are more likely to be poor, but also because you are used to that. For example, my family is not that rich, but for example, my parents have, I think they have optimal habits, and I've understood this by studying finance, of course, and I see that I have learned that from them. And for example, I am very careful with my savings, and I'm very careful with the money I use. I've had second thoughts of frugality. If you've seen my other videos, for example, last year I was doing a challenge in which I was frugal for at least 2 months in order for me to save 1,000 euro to do an interrail trip, which I'm going to do. And I'm going to make a lot of videos about that in the future. So follow me if you don't follow me. And follow me also on TikTok if you want to see shorter videos. The point is that I've had second thoughts on frugality because I don't think that living like Scrooge will make you happy. Because I've seen that a lot of people who wants to be FIRE in like 10 years, they tend to live extreme frugal lifestyle, and I don't want to sponsor that in any way. But if I want to do a simulation with 80,000 euros, which is more realistic for my lifestyle and for my future, as you can see here, I would need very, very much less. Let's see, with 400,000. Okay, no, a little bit more than that. It is way more than I expected. Okay, it is around that. And so it is around half a million euros. No, it is less than that. It is like 416 euros. Yes. And let's see how much would it take for me to actually make that money. So my favorite tools to invest right now is an accumulation plan. So let's say I wanna invest like 500 euros each month in 28 years because I'm 22 years old and I want to retire at 50. Okay, we have an annual revenue of 4.5%. Well, to be conservative, okay, that's fine. Let's calculate how much money would I make. Okay, not enough. I mean, not enough because we've said that we need 500,000. Okay, so 500, it's not enough. let's say with 600. Okay, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. Let's say if, for example, 650 will be enough. Yes, that would be enough. A little bit over 650, like 660. Okay, so I would need approximately 750 euros invested each month at a revenue of 4.5%. Of course, this is net revenue. This is very conservative, but I mean, it's not that bad, not that bad. If I had a job right now, I would probably save that. That would be like half my starting salary. So it is not that bad considering I am not paying rent. So this is like the game changer. It would take an average person to compromise a lot, like living with flatmates and not eating out too much. But I mean, living frugally, I could probably do that. But let's see what is the problem with FIRE movement. The problem is that markets are not reliable. We are investing in the stock market because otherwise we would dream about this yearly net return. And as you probably know, with stock markets, you're not receiving 6% each year. 1 year you could receive 10, 1 year you could receive -1. This is an average, okay? But the problem is that if 1 year you receive -1, your capital is going down. So this whole plan wouldn't work, okay? So there are a lot of calculations that we can make to try to avoid this problem. For example, if we set a principle of, we said 500,000 and we said that we want to cash out each year 8,000 euros, 18,000 euros. Well, it wouldn't be that bad probably, but as you can see here, there are years you are receiving a loss, an incredible loss. So this is taken from the last 30 years of the S&P 500. But so yeah, if you start like this, you're probably cashing out a little bit. Let's see if we cash out a little bit more, because I see these calculations are pretty weird because we get a lot at the end of our lives. So let's see if something like this happens. No, still a lot. Let's see if something like this happens. Yes, as you can see here, for example, if you have a principal of 300,000 euros, you are going to be negative at 77 years old. So you would need a lot more than that to survive. And also, this is made by using data from the last 30 years of the S&P 500. And as we know, the S&P 500 for the last 30 years went pretty well. And we don't know that is going to happen in the future. So all these calculations are really, I think, all these calculations are close to reality. But for example, if you see here, in 2008, after the crisis in 2008, you see a -32%. Of course, we cannot forecast the black swans in the market. And so I wouldn't rely personally much on that. How would I solve this problem? As you can see here, we are making an assumption. We are making the assumption that we do not make any money for the rest of our lives. So after the age 49, we stop gaining money from whatever sources and we start living only spending. Okay, I don't think that is realistic. So all these calculations are true, but they do not respect reality a lot, because all the people who wants to retire early, they usually do not plan to stop working and lock in their house and be in bed for the rest of their lives. The majority of people who wants to do that wants to dedicate themselves to a hobby, for example. Of course, a hobby is way less profitable than a normal job. For example, let's suppose I like to do clay, and once a year I sell my clay in a market. So let's suppose that, for example, 1 year, after 10 years, I sell my clay. And so I need less than this, because I made like 2,000 euros selling my clay. As you can see here, this curve is a lot sensible to that. A lot sensible. Can you see that? We only made 2,000 euros once in a while, and it not reverts its behavior, but it changes drastically. So what I'm trying to say with all of this simulation and all of this reasoning is that you can actually be fire and be safe, that you're not going to die of hunger, because even if you quit your job and you have a hobby, or you start a part-time job as a barista, for example, once a week, you are completely reverting the behavior of this curve. So what I'm trying to say here with all this calculation and simulation is that you can actually be fire very easily. And that is my plan. I want to be fire in like 20, 30 years. I want to work a corporate job, because I will need to do that, because the easiest way for me to save a good amount of money before 50 years old is investing right now a good capital. Because if you're investing for 30 years and you invest the same amount each year, then you're going to have an interest, okay? But if you invest a lot in the beginning of your investing stages, you are getting a completely different amount at the end of the 30 years. Because, of course, if you invest more at the beginning, that money, they're going to be profitable for longer times. The bottom line is that if you want to be fire, you are going to be frugal for a part of your life, at least when you are starting doing this. Because I did this simulation for a time span of 28 years, but maybe people who are seeing this, they don't have 28 years. So they will probably have to invest more than 750 euros or dollars each month. And I mean, you can do that. You can see with compound interest simulators how much would you need to go fire. So my advice is this: if you want to go fire, you will probably have a time in your life where you're going to be really frugal. And if you have to choose, well, the sooner the better. Because if you do invest that money right now, they're going to be really profitable. They're going to be more profitable than if you are frugal in 10 years. So if you want to start doing this, then the best time is now. So my best advice, if you want to be fire, is to start saving a lot right now in the early stages of your investment, and then you can chill out and live a less frugal life. And so yes, this was my analysis. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. A presto!